but we actually have a special guest with us. So as we start our meeting, Suda was going to do the land acknowledgement.
Great, thank you. So as a settler on this land, I acknowledge that Humber River Hospital is situated in the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Haudenosaunee, and the Huron-Wendat territory. This land was part of Toronto Purchase Treaty 13. The Humber River has a long history. The Toronto Carrying Place Trail, also known as the Humber Portage, and the Toronto Passage was a major portage route in Ontario, Canada, linking Lake Ontario with Lake Simcoe and the Northern Great Lakes, and was used by First Nations peoples for thousands of years to travel between Georgian Bay or Lake Simcoe and Lake Ontario. The Mississaugas called the Humber River Cabochinook, which means leave the canoes and go back. As a settler myself, I acknowledge the immense harm we've caused to Indigenous people across this land and commit to actively working towards reconciliation. As well, in light of Black History Month, I acknowledge the immense harm caused by the transatlantic slave trade to African, Black, and Caribbean communities, and commit to actively working towards learning more about those harms. Thank you.
Thank you, Suda, and thanks for personalizing that. So it's my pleasure really to introduce you to ETalk's Tyrone David. I got to meet Tyrone and stand beside him and do a little presentation at a foundation event recently. And what I knew about Tyrone is that he grew up in Toronto's West End, not too far from Humber. He did go to the United States for a little while, but he remembered where his roots were and came back to Toronto in 2005. He's been very successful in on-screen work, off-screen work, but he's also actively involved in our community where he acts as a mentor and a coach for underprivileged youth, as well as he speaks out on change and action necessary to eliminate racism, not only in our community, but in Canada. He's done many different charitable things, including Concrete Hopes, which is a not-for-profit basketball camp for youth-oriented organizations around our neighborhoods in Toronto. And he has lots of different charitable organizations that also support COVID relief efforts. So without further ado, I'm really very pleased to welcome Tyrone to speak. And he is, as you can see from this introduction here, the anchor on ETalk, and he's going to give us some words to start off our Black History Month. I will stop sharing and allow Tyrone to speak.
All right. Thank you so much, Barb. Good to see you again.
Nice to see you.
I want to say quickly that land acknowledgement was personalized and never actually seen it done that well. So I really appreciate that. Especially you just mentioned that I did grow up in that neighborhood. I'm from Southside Jane, baby, Jane and Weston Road. And so HRH family is something I'm just so glad to even have this relationship and look forward to continuing to build this relationship with the hospital and learning more about the hospital, because my relationship with the hospital prior to this was more so of reluctancy and fear, but now I'm starting to meet different people from different departments. As you spoke about, I got a chance to come in and host a bit of the foundation. And I got to learn just so much. There's so many different moving parts. There's so many players that are involved in order for the hospital to run the way it does. And even while we were, celebrating and doing the foundation, there was, I remember a moment where there was I guess like, I don't want to say code blue, but there's some kind of code that went off while we were talking. And I realized that, man, I'm so lucky. I'm so lucky that I have a job where I am complaining about working from home. And I really want to just extend my gratitude and admiration and appreciation for all of you and all that you guys have done over the last, I don't even know, I've lost track of how many months it is now. It's got to be at least 2 years now. So I really just wanted to say thank you. I know that there's a lot going on in the media and a lot of people just kind of forgetting how we got here and that we're not completely in the clear yet. Barb did mention that we hope for some lower COVID counts and seeing COVID walk away eventually. And I hope for that too, because I'm actually stuck in the basement today because I can't go upstairs to where I usually shoot from home, just being careful. So I also wanted to just mention, like I said, I am from the neighborhood. I grew up in that neighborhood, and I think it's important and valuable to see someone of your likeness in certain roles. So I know growing up, I didn't, like I said, I didn't have a relationship with the hospital, other than, you know, kind of like what you think about it when you think about the movies and television, which is just emergency room, and that's about it. And I know that there's so much more there. I know that there's things that happen in terms of prevention. I know that there's mental health support. And over recent years, I've realized just how important that is, especially in our underserved communities. So as someone who is a proud product of a community that you guys actually serve, I just wanted to say that I think I really would love to continue to support and continue to build our relationship. I think it's important for our younger youth to see someone of their likeness with a strong relationship. So for me, here we go. It's Black History Month 2022, and I hope it's exciting for you. Realistically, though, I'm just going to keep it all the way 100 today. I'm speaking from the heart. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. And I think that, you know, sometimes it's better to have the awkward conversations up front so that we can get to enjoying life. At least that works with my girlfriend. So hopefully that works here too. So it's Black History Month 2022, and especially following 2020 and our recent sort of global awakening and awareness of what it means to be Black in this country and in North America. You know, I hope it's exciting, but realistically it isn't, because if I'm being completely honest, it hasn't really been exciting for me. And I'll get to why in a bit. But this year, 2022, is exciting for me. It just feels so good to be here in a space like this and speak with you, and to feel welcomed, to be able to text Joe and to say, hey, nice to see you again, Barb, and feel invited, because that feeling isn't something that has always been necessarily awarded to me. So you see, sometimes our names and our titles tell a bit of our story, and sometimes our status and reputation can sort of arrive in a room before we walk in. And now I say sometimes because there are other times where there's something that sort of draws up our identity and almost guarantees how we're perceived before we walk in a room. And that's the color of my skin. And that's something that I'm always aware of. And I say this because I lived a pretty regular life up until I was 29. I didn't get my first TV job until I was 30. So I know what it means to be an average Black man. I know how it feels to be an average Black man. And I also very, very much remember how it hurts to be an average Black man. So why I'm excited for this year's Black History Month is because I've sat with the idea of what it's felt like. And I've decided to rework how I approach the month and what I want out of the month. So this is something that I'm going to encourage you all to do as well. And I did really like that your calendar was color-coded. That meant a lot to me. So I used to think about Black History Month and I'd be like, is it about slavery? I used to always have to field questions about, why is there even a Black History Month? There isn't a White History Month. This is a question, you know, that I've been asked a few times over the years. Why is there a BET, a Black Entertainment Television channel? There isn't a white one. And why are there HBCUs? As mentioned, I went to school in the US for the last part of my high school and college. And, you know, obviously the response was, there isn't any white ones. So who wants to just talk about slavery? Plus, didn't that happen only in the US? And wasn't that so long ago? So long ago that it almost takes on this mythical form. It's almost like just a story. Because if it's just his story and not our story, then this Black history is more of a mystery than a celebration. And honestly, at that point, what the heck are we even celebrating? So follow me. I read somewhere recently, just a few days ago, where someone asked the question, why is slavery not also a part of white history if we were all there? Because it kind of just seems to fall on Black history. I thought about that for a second and I wondered why. So anyways, I've sat with it for a while and I asked myself, why wasn't I overly excited about Black History Month in the past? What was it? Is it because it's the shortest month of the year? Nah, who cares? Like, I mean, that doesn't bother me so much. But what is it really that I was feeling? Or better yet, what wasn't I feeling? And I start to think about all of our habits and our holidays and other designated times on our calendar, the same calendar that we all share. So Christmas, New Year's, Pride, Halloween, civic holidays, Valentine's, and then there's Black History Month. And when I started to look at that, I started to realize that during those times, we all, regardless of religions, age, sexual orientation, we all celebrate. Even if you're not feeling it, it's around you. The cups at Starbucks have a new colorway. The Uber front page is decorated. The bus shelters are in theme. The decorations in malls, marketing in TV commercials, the decals on our storefronts when you're walking down the street. Any and everywhere we look, there's a bit of celebration. It's color-coded. That's why I mentioned I liked your calendar. It's encouraged. There's enthusiasm. There's costumes, apparel, and a big driver, there's sales. There's always a sale around a big celebration. And all these things are amazing. And I've been known to throw a damn good Super Bowl party in the past. And I take pride in my Halloween costumes. I get dressed up with my daughter and then I get dressed up with my boys. And then I probably have to get dressed up again for ETalk. So I'm all with the themes and the celebrations. But the problem that I'm noticing is that it's not the same energy for Black History Month. There's definitely no special cups or lattes. There's no special collabs with Black designers at Walmart or Sears or wherever. I probably shouldn't be calling out brands, but hey, no special decal on store windows, no black, green, and red website banners when you go on the websites that you frequent. Oh, and the most important part, there's no budgets. So the reality is some companies will pat themselves on the back by tapping Black creatives, celebrities, educators, community leaders, and influencers. But during February, there's no budget. I told you guys I was gonna keep it real. So it doesn't feel like a celebration. This is my main point. It feels like a protest. Because if everyone's not celebrating, then it's just left to one group, and that feels like a protest more than a celebration. And at some point, it makes me feel like I'm glad this is the shortest month of the year, because who wants to protest for 28 days straight? Every year, year after year. So I've decided that I want this year to be intentional when I approach Black History Month. I want to set clear goals, and I want to try to get as many people on the same page as possible. Black History Month is for all of us. See, like I always say this, I'm born Black, but all the knowledge of my people's history doesn't just come built in. So if I can learn, then you can learn, and we can do it together. But it would be nice though, because people always ask, well, what can I do to be a better ally? One of the best things that you could do to be a better ally is to learn some stuff on your own. Take some of your own time. Tell me something. Teach me. I just learned from your land acknowledgement by the lady that personalized it about a neighborhood that I grew up in, and I didn't know any of that. So there's so much to learn. And I have my own goals for Black History Month, and some of those include fundraising for a walk-in mental health clinic right at the corner of Jane and Chitchway. It's so important to support our youth growing up. And I think about the decisions that I made when I was 17 versus the decisions that I would make now. And I know how heavy it is to be a kid and you add Black and you add being underserved. So that mental health support is very important. And I've dedicated a lot of my downtime to raising funds for that. But also one of my other goals is I want the findings and the awakening and the acknowledgement during Black History Month to influence history that is currently taught, because Black history is only necessary based on the deliberate erasure of our achievements and our contributions over the years, versus the amplification of our mistakes. So ultimately, what am I saying by that? Erasure of our achievements and our contributions and amplification of our mistakes. We are competing with the identity that society has crafted for us versus the reality we see when we're in our homes, in our communities, and in our hearts. I know what people think when they see a big Black guy with dreads. So sometimes I have to spend extra time trying to change that idea. And that's what I want to slowly change, is the identity, upgrade it. I have more ideas that would be beneficial to companies' bottom lines, to different companies' target markets, to a demographic of new working professionals, homeowners, doctors, psychotherapists, restaurateurs, designers, and politicians, just to name a few of other spaces I'm seeing a lot of young, talented Black people pop up in. But what I've decided is to save some of those ideas until March, because that's when the budgets kind of reappear again. For now, with love, I encourage you to revisit what Black History Month is going to be for you this year, like what I did. Because admittedly, as a Black man, I'm coming to the HRH family and admitting that I wasn't that excited about Black History Month in the past years. And I had to sit down and really revisit why we're doing it, how I want to do it, and what I want to get out of it. So I feel so much better about it, and I really hope that you can do that too. I want you to figure out what you can take from it, what you can contribute to it, and how you can make it feel like a celebration. And you know what? I think that's it. Today I decided to speak from the heart. I have a catalog of speeches that I could read from, but today I just wanted to speak from the heart because HRH is important to me. I believe that these kinds of relationships will definitely play a part in our community and building our community together. So thank you for hearing my words, and hopefully the one thing that I want you to take away from it is that Black History Month 2022, let's make it feel like a celebration. What can you contribute to it, and what will you take from it? One love.
Tyrone, thank you very much. That was from your heart, and we truly appreciate that. There's over 300 people on the line, and a couple of people might have a question or a comment for you. Do you mind?
Oh yeah, let's do it.
Okay, good. I think, Arshna, you were the first one to put a comment in. Why don't you ask your question? Because I think it's a great one.
Hi, thank you so much for coming to meet with us. Your reflections are insightful and relatable, and it got me excited about Black History Month. I really like how you framed it as a celebration. We need to make that shift. How can you see us in our community here making this shift? How can we amplify making it a celebration, amplifying our strengths and our triumphs? Do you have any ideas about that for us?
Yeah, so I've sort of kind of subscribed to a different mentality. So the way I look at it is, it's more important about, instead of worrying about doing the right thing, it's about doing something. So if, let's see, Joe, or is that Melanie, or whoever is on this call, if you are doing something in the spaces that you occupy, and then let's say it's at work or at home or your social circle, I think that is the best place to start, is to start with the spaces that you occupy, in terms of including people, learning, sharing, and ultimately it's about just taking it's about doing like the little things for a long-term change. Because what we don't want, and what we're all afraid of, including myself, is we go too hard, try to do too much, and then it doesn't last. You know, I want to, this new feeling of feeling invited and welcomed and valued, I don't want to lose that anytime soon. So I'm looking for, you know, long-standing structural change, and that will come from people doing things as individuals first, so that it becomes a part of your daily routine.
That's great, Tyrone. Thank you. And actually, lots of comments in the chat you probably haven't a chance to look at about you kept it real, you told a real story, you reminded us that it's every day, not just today, but to continue to talk about the importance of these kinds of discussions about the community and how to be real. And lots of comments thanking you for helping with the mental health issues with our Black youth from our mental health team. But does anybody have any other questions? I'm happy to leave it open to anyone who wants to ask.
Suda has a question.
Suda.
I have a question. Thank you, Tyrone. That was amazing. You talked about your reflections as a Black man and how that feels for you. What do you hope for your children? Like, how do you hope their experience will be different?
I'm actually very hopeful. I was interviewing Spike Lee, and I said to him, I said, am I naive? Is it my age to think that we are moving in the right direction? And he said, no. He said, I've seen an uprising before. I've seen the civil rights movement. He's like, I'm much more older than you are, and I've seen this all happen before. But there's something about our youth and the way they're learning. So I'll give you an example. My daughter is 10 years old, and whenever when we're doing virtual learning, before they went back into class, the curriculum, what they're doing from morning to school is over, is so inclusive. They do the land acknowledgement. I never even heard of a land acknowledgement until a few years ago. They're learning about different areas of government. They're talking about social issues. They're learning as we're learning. The difference is one thing in life that is difficult is to unlearn. Unfortunately, we all have to unlearn. Even myself, when I think about certain words in the English language, Black male, which is a negative, and I'm a Black male. Like there's so many things that are intertwined with Black associated with negativity, Black being associated with bad or lesser than. And I really, truly believe that our kids, as we're unlearning, they are learning. So this is shaping better people. And ultimately, to be a good ally, to be a good man, to be a good woman, to be a good person, period, is the goal. And I really think that so long as we're teaching them the right things, we're definitely heading in the right direction. All of this, a lot of the things that we're seeing, the resistance to Indigenous awareness and Indigenous reconciliation, the resistance to the Black Lives Matter movement, the resistance to anti-Black racism, the erasure of certain significant authors in Canadian history. There's so much, the Blacks in the prairies. There's so much that has been removed from the history. But I just truly believe that if our young people don't have to unlearn what we have to unlearn and are only learning the things that are valuable, I think we're heading in the right direction.
That's great. Thank you. I'm just looking at the comments, and another question that came from D. Steinberg asking you, is there any language we can use to be more inclusive? That's, I think, one of the things, Tyrone, that people often are afraid of, are the right words and the right language.
Right.
To reflect inclusiveness.
You know, I told a friend this recently because she said to me, she's like, I know, but I just don't want to say the right thing. And I'm sorry, I just did the wrong thing. But that's a perfect example. You knew what I meant. And the truth of the matter is someone can say the right thing, but have the wrong energy behind it, and you know better. You can see right through it. So I really, truly believe that the most important thing is having a sense of awareness. And I've really put a value on awareness over experience recently, because we can sit through these things, we can go to the workshops, we can watch the movie that was suggested, but what are we actually taking away from it? How is our awareness heightened at all? That's the most important part. So awareness definitely overshadows or is more valuable than experience. And when it comes to language, the reason why I started off by answering the question like that is when it comes to language, we're never, ever, 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 ever gonna always get it right. So don't put that pressure on yourself to just say the right thing. I think it's more important to know in your heart what you're trying to say, because if you say it and you don't say it right, we can tell that your intention was good. Does that matter if you say something publicly and people are worried about getting canceled? Well, I'll tell you this, good people don't get canceled. And I know that's controversial to say, but good people don't get canceled, because even if you say the wrong thing, you won't be wrong and strong. If you say the wrong thing and it's offensive or it's hurtful or whatever, and someone brings it to your attention, then the first thing you'll want to do is to understand why and to take it back and to revisit what you said. So getting all the right words and picking the right language, I think comes from having an open mind and an open heart and being as loving as you possibly can.
So I don't see other hands. There might be, but Tyrone, thank you very much. I think the idea of unlearn and relearn, I think, is a really cool one. Maybe if we walk away with that as a healthcare community and we work together to concentrate on that, I think that's great, and that it's not just February, it's every day. So I really want to thank you for spending the time with us. Listen, so many thanks. Great comments in the chat. Thanking you very much for being here with you. Truly appreciate it.
I really appreciate it. Thank you for having me, and thank you for all the comments. I'm going to try to scroll through quickly.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot. We're
Alrighty.
just going to go on with our presentation. You can hear if you want. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for being here, Tyrone. Thanks.
Thanks, guys.